Imagine standing at the helm of a massive ship. The seas have been stormy, the journey long, and for as far back as you can remember, you've been drifting, not towards a destination, but simply at the mercy of the currents. This ship is your life, and those currents, they have a name. Poor me. But today, right now, your hands are on the wheel, and you're about to learn how to turn this ship around. In our last exploration, we delved into the treacherous waters of the poor me mindset, how it's implemented, internalized, and perpetuated. We saw how this perspective can become an addiction, twisting even the most positive inputs into confirmation of our victimhood. It's a harrowing tale, but not the end of the story, because recognizing poor me, that's the first gleam of dawn on the horizon. That's the moment you realize, I don't have to stay lost at sea. Recognizing poor me is about developing a new level of self-awareness, a sort of internal radar that pings when victim thinking tries to take the wheel. It's about catching thoughts like, why does this always happen to me? Or, I'll never be good enough. And pausing. In that pause lies power. The power to ask, is this really true or is it poor me talking? This self-inquiry is a radical act. Poor me has likely been the unchallenged narrator of your life for so long that its voice seems like absolute truth. It sounds like you, thinks like you, behaves like you. So when you dare to question it, to hold its claims up to the light of reason, you're committing a kind of internal revolution. Everyone else gets opportunities becomes, is that factually accurate, or am I discounting my own chances? Their only being nice out of pity transforms into, what evidence do I actually have for that? This other person has it all better than me becomes, do I actually know a single thing about anyone else? But here's the thing about revolutions. They're rarely won alone. And challenging poor me is no exception. This is where we come to one of the most powerful tools in overcoming victim mentality, community. It's about daring to surround yourself with people who see your light, not just your struggles. Think about it. Poor me thrives in isolation or in the company of other poor me's. It's the voice that says, no one understands. I'm uniquely cursed. I keep trying with no results. So to step into connection with others who reflect back your capabilities, your inherent worth, that's more than support. It's a rewriting of the narrative. This might be friends who celebrate your wins without caveat, a partner who encourages growth instead of keeping you small, even authors, podcasters, or public figures who model resilience and self-compassion. Their voices become a countercurrent to poor me's undertow, reminding you, you are not your setbacks. You are not defined by what's happened to you. You have so much more to give and to live. Let's pause here and shine a light on one of poor me's most insidious traits, its profound lack of discernment when it comes to recognizing what's genuinely good for it. This isn't just a quirk. It's a cornerstone of how poor me maintains its grip, and it has everything to do with why community, true, nurturing community, can feel so foreign, even threatening to someone in poor me's grasp. You see, poor me doesn't just prefer isolation or the cold comfort of commiseration. It's actually developed a kind of inverse compass, one that steers away from wellness with the same determination that others might seek it. It's as if poor me has convinced its host that the cave is home and sunlight is the enemy. No one understands, poor me whispers, and in a twisted way it's right, because it has personalized suffering so intensely, so intricately, that the understanding it craves isn't empathy, but an impossible mirror of its pain. In demanding flawless replication of its anguish, poor me rejects the very connection it aches for, mistaking uniqueness for isolation and turning the absence of a perfect echo into proof that it can never be truly heard. It's a trap, of course, a logical fallacy taken to the realm of emotion. If perfect understanding is the only understanding that counts, then poor me will never risk being understood. It's the ultimate insurance policy against vulnerability, against the terrifying possibility that one's pain, gazed upon by caring eyes, might begin to loosen its stranglehold. And so empathy, true empathy, which honors unique experience while extending the hand of common humanity, feels to poor me like invalidation. If you can sit with me in this and not be identically shattered, surely you're minimizing my pain. If you can reflect my suffering without drowning in it, you must not really get it. I'm uniquely cursed, goes another poor me refrain. Now track this logic. If the curse is unique, then so must be the solution, right? This is poor me setting up one of its favorite catch-22s. It simultaneously aches for help and rejects it as impossible. I keep trying with no results, it laments, while defining results so narrowly that no progress can ever count. So here's the painful paradox. Poor me desperately wants to feel better, and yet it has lost, or never developed, the ability to recognize better when it appears. Worse, it often actively pushes better away. A friend celebrates your win. They just don't understand how hollow it really feels. A partner encourages growth. They're naive. Don't they know you're broken? An inspiring story of someone overcoming odds like yours? Exception to the rule. Doesn't apply. A therapist trying to help? They are annoying and don't ever understand what you're really going through. It's a perceptual filter so strong that even when poor me does find itself in nurturing environments, it can feel like a plant that's forgotten how to photosynthesize. The nutrients are there, the conditions are right, but something in the internal programming just won't convert light into sustenance. This is why, for many caught in poor me's undertow, therapy isn't just helpful, it's vital. Because before a person can fully resonate with supportive community, before they can bask in the reflection of their capabilities and worth from others, they need a guide to recalibrate their internal instruments. A skilled therapist becomes a translator of sorts, helping to render the language of compassion, the dialect of possibility, back into something poor me can begin to comprehend. They create a controlled environment, the therapeutic relationship itself, where poor me's reflexive dismissal of good can be gently and persistently challenged. How did it feel when your friend celebrated your promotion? The therapist might ask. Poor me's first response. Like they don't get how terrified I am of failing. The therapist nods, validates the fear, and then, is it possible to be scared and also worthy of celebration? A tiny crack in poor me's armor, a sliver of new thought. In therapy, the work is often about redirecting the emotional body, that deep pre-verbal part of us that decides what's safe, what's real, towards recognizing a valid and nurturing sensory experience. It's retraining poor me to understand that support doesn't have to be a mirror of our pain to be genuine. That growth is not an invalidation of struggle, but an honor paid to it. That I see your light doesn't mean I'm ignoring your darkness. It's a gradual rewiring, this process of teaching poor me to discern good from the false comfort of familiar pain. There's mourning involved, grieving the self that could only feel seen in suffering. There's fear. If I'm not poor me, who am I? There's anger to be expressed. I hate that this happened to me, and I can return to feeling safe and content after having expressed that. With consistent, compassionate guidance, new neural pathways form. The emotional body begins to orient towards warmth without recoiling, like a night-blooming flower daring to face the dawn. Now, here's an important point to make. Therapy is never one-sided, it's always about teamwork. Please subscribe and stay tuned, because an entire video about this is on the making. Coming back to the community's role, incrementally, the person begins to resonate with environments that previously felt alien in their kindness. The friend's celebration of a win lands a little deeper. The partner's encouragement feels less like pressure and more like sunlight. The inspiring podcast stirs something that whispers, maybe, me too. This is the alchemy that makes true community possible. Not just being around others, but being able to take in what they offer. To let their voices become that countercurrent to poor me's undertow, strong enough, steady enough that you begin to feel the pull towards a different shore. It starts in the therapist's office, in that sacred space where poor me first learns that it is heard, that it is honored, and that it is not the whole story. And from there the circle widens. Slowly, stutteringly, but with gathering trust, you start to let in the people who see your light, who celebrate your wins without caveat, who encourage your growth without punishing your stumbles. You begin to absorb the voices of those, be they friends or authors, partners or podcasters, who model what it looks like to be resilient and tender, scarred and sacred. And in their reflection, in their counter-narrative to poor me's undertow, you catch a glimpse of who you might become, not defined by setbacks, not small, not stuck, but expansive, capable of receiving, worthy of giving, so much more than what has happened to you. Poor me may never completely vanish. On some level, it will always struggle to trust the good, to believe that light is meant for it, but no longer does it get to be the only voice, the only voter. In community, hard-won, patiently cultivated, deeply healing community, poor me becomes just one member of a much richer internal council, and with each borrowed candle that helps reignite your own, its influence flickers and dims and gives way to a new dawn. Now let's be very clear. Challenging poor me isn't easy. If you've been drifting in these waters for years, even decades, course correcting can feel Herculean. Poor me will fight back. It'll whisper that this is too hard, that you're fooling yourself, that it's safer to stay small. That's why, even before engaging in all of the tools, self-awareness, self-inquiry, supportive community, professional guidance, there's something even more fundamental. It's the spark that makes use of them all possible, and that's the deep, gut-level, soul-crying decision that you've had enough. It's the moment when staying stuck becomes more painful than the risk of change. When you look at poor me and say, "You are not the author here, I am." This decision is the compass that, even when the waves get high and visibility gets low, keeps you oriented toward growth. It's important to understand this isn't about forcing positivity or denying that pain and injustice exist. It's not about dismissing the very real wounds that poor me may have formed around. Rather, it's about saying, yes, this happened, yes, it was hard, and I get to write what happens next. Because here's the truth about this voyage, it's made of a million tiny choices. Every time you choose empowerment over victimhood, every time you celebrate a win instead of diminishing it, every time you speak to yourself with the kindness you'd offer a dear friend, you're not just turning the ship, you're gaining momentum. You're strengthening the muscles that steer towards freedom. Will there be setbacks? Of course. Poor me doesn't vacate its long-held territory without a sometimes mighty fight. You'll have days when the old thoughts seem as loud as ever, but now you'll have something poor me never offered, a way through. Each time you practice your tools, you're reaffirming. I hear you, poor me, but you are not in charge anymore. I'm capable of more than you've led me to believe, and I'm proving it one choice at a time. This journey from poor me to empowered me isn't about reaching some mythical trouble-free shore. Life will always have its storms, but it is about becoming the captain of your own ship, about having the awareness to spot poor me when it tries to steer you off course and the tools to correct your heading. It's about discovering that you are so much more than the sum of what's happened to you, that you have strengths. Poor me never acknowledged, and gifts it never let you open. It's about the profound realization that while you may not control the wind or the waves, you do control the sails. And so, as we stand here with our hands on the wheel, the question becomes not, will I ever escape poor me completely? But who might I discover myself to be as I choose a different way? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The journey from poor me to empowered me begins with a single brave question. What if there's more to my story? Today you've taken that step. You've asked that question. And out there, beyond the familiar currents of poor me, a whole uncharted life is waiting. With each choice, each pause, each reframing of an old lie into a new truth, you're not just challenging poor me. You're charting a course towards the person you were always meant to become. The waters may not always be smooth, but you have what it takes to navigate them, and that sunrise on the horizon, it's yours to sail towards. So here we are. We've explored the depths of poor me together. Its whispers of uniqueness that breed isolation. Its demand for perfect mirroring that rejects true empathy. It's a mindset that can feel inescapable, but there is another shore, and you don't have to swim to it alone. As someone who has navigated these waters, who has done the work of unwinding poor me's grip, I'm extending an invitation, not to rescue you, but to walk beside you as you reclaim your story. Through one-on-one mentorship, we'll question old narratives, celebrate small steps, and practice the courageous art of receiving support. If something in these words resonates, if you're ready to be truly heard and deeply challenged, reach out. Let's explore, with commitment and compassion, all that you have weathered and all you have yet to become. Your new chapter is waiting. Together we can begin to write it. Thank you for watching.